Cheers, guys. Epix911, welcome to the Elitist Geek VR news for July 24th. So I know I indicated in the last video I would have a gameplay one up next, which I obviously didn't because you're watching this, and this certainly isn't gameplay, it's news related. But work has reared its head. For some reason, you know the old expression, when it rains it pours, my work servers have decided in pairs to act up. And while most of my platform is virtual, there are still a few older physical servers. And of course, those are the ones I'm having the issue on. I've got a business trip slash vacation for Manhattan, New York, coming up in 2 weeks. A lot of pressure to get these resources back up and running well ahead of that. And the trip itself to plan for. You get the point. The free time has been a little bit more limited. I want to get this news one out, and I'm still going to try some gaming stuff as time permits, because with these work servers, anybody who works on servers knows there's lots of times where you're just waiting, right? Copy operations, writing operations, and you can't do anything except look at the screen anyways. If I have those types of moments, I'll definitely work on those gaming videos. So the first thing I wanted to talk about in the news is to do with the Oculus Rift's tracking. And it's no secret that the Oculus Rift is fully capable of room VR style tracking. It just wasn't something it was designed to do at launch. It wasn't something that the devs, considered important, either from a functional or marketing point of view. But there's nothing in the technology or in the software to, preclude that or to basically prohibit devs from incorporating room VR type functionality. So we found out in the latest Oculus update that they have increased the tracking capability to 4 cameras. Now, where this comes in handy is for those people who play Steam VR games, right? You tended to, in the past, ignore the games that were room VR based and tracking based. A, because you don't have the Oculus Touch controllers to kind of mimic that functionality that you get with the Vive, right? And you only had the one camera. Well, this gives some hope that moving forward, and we're probably going to find out because there are devs already with the Oculus Touch who've received this update who may purchase additional cameras and let us know exactly how this works. And as those details come out, I will let you guys know. Super stoked about that. And I will try myself to get those touch controllers as soon as I can. Likewise, additional cameras just to see how exactly, how well that works, right? So with one, like I said, it's pretty good. It doesn't have all the niceties built in, though, of the chaperone system, right? The Vive was marketed and bundled with that functionality out of the box from the get-go. And that makes a huge difference for room scale VR, right? They both deliver awesome seated experiences. It's just in that area where there's been a bit of a difference. And if you're somebody who hasn't needed to or wanted to enjoy Steam room VR content, it hasn't been a big deal, right? But to have that available as a possibility moving forward is still kind of cool, and it bears mentioning. The next thing has to do with internet cafes. And in North America, we kind of have a strange relationship with internet cafes. And there was a time where I was kind of hopeful that we would see more of them. To me, being a bit of an older gamer, I've always had that kind of soft spot, that nostalgia for arcades, right? Especially knowing that arcades are still alive and well in places like Tokyo, right? There's tons of arcades. But our North American society has changed in some fundamental areas that have made arcades just not profitable, attractive. Even the newer machines, anyone who tries to open up an arcade, they usually go out of business pretty quick. And it's the same with internet cafes. You open an internet cafe in North America, absolutely there's exceptions. There's always exceptions to the rule. But by and large, most of them tend to have to kind of close down. We are nowhere near the volume of places like China. We're going to get into that in a second. But, where I live, I'm close to the Canadian city, Vancouver. It's the largest west coast and western Canadian city. There is a suburb, a city in its own right, part of the Metro Vancouver area called Richmond that has a high population of people who are originally from Hong Kong, China. And internet cafes, you know, exist there, but again, nowhere near to how they actually exist back in Hong Kong. And again, part of that is cultural, right? We just here in North America, even in places like Richmond, you're going to benefit from higher disposable income, being able to buy your own computers, which in most of China is still very cost prohibitive, right? You go to an internet cafe because it's the cheaper alternative. You're not having to buy the hardware, the software. You can just focus on the gaming. And, you know, Japan, same thing. Real estate is expensive and these costs are expensive. So they managed to survive in places like that. Now, where this story is going, and it's an Upload VR article, is talking about virtual reality coming to Chinese internet cafes. So now that I got the background out of the way, let's talk about why that's an awesome thing for virtual reality. If I was to say, and I know this is kind of a joke for Canadians, even though honestly, McDonald's Canada were probably just as bad, and Starbucks. But there's a joke among Canadians about going to the States and in every city, on every block, seeing a Starbucks and a McDonald's, right? And probably not far from the truth. But to help you understand just how big internet cafes are in China, okay? Listen to this statistic. So, worldwide, never mind Canada and the US, and I believe Canada has a few thousand McDonald's, 3,500 or something, and per capita we even maybe higher, or right up there with the US, not higher, but right up there, top 5 easily. But there are 36,000 McDonald's worldwide. Okay, that's quite a few, right? Pretty impressive. Maybe you thought higher, maybe you thought lower, but either way, 36,000 is a pretty big number. Now there is a company in China called Shenwang Technologies that has their own brand and their own internet cafe. And if you had to guess how many locations they have in China, would you say less, the same, or more than the number of McDonald's worldwide? Most of you would probably say thereabouts, right? Or maybe even a little bit less. Well, you'd be wrong. And I was wrong. When I saw the number, it blew me away. 100,000 internet cafes in China under the Shenwang brand. Now, to put that into context and why this is such a cool thing for us who use PC-based virtual reality devices, consoles for a long time were banned in China. And the ban was only lifted in 2015, last year. PC gaming has always been the most popular form of gaming in China. And not necessarily the AAA, but the online pay-as-you-play RPGs, games like Dota, those types of games have always done well in China. And the internet cafes, as a result of that, boomed, right? When you're talking 100,000, and Brookhaven experiment is Shenwang's kind of first foray into introducing VR into its cafes, that's when you begin to realize the potential. We could sell, 100,000 additional VR units times however many for each location, hopefully at some point. It just shows you that there's market potential in that direction, which is only going to benefit us, right? And Brookhaven Experiment is the game that's going to kind of lead the charge for them. So it's got those, pay-to-play elements inside. There's in-app purchases that you can make. It's structured perfectly for that type of game. So I'm going to be following this real close. I think it's fantastic for VR at large because it's going to move units. And right now, that's what we need. We need units to move. We need critical mass. And we need that to be worldwide, right? Not just North America, Europe, or Asia. VR has to get out there. So just a really interesting story. If you want to know more about that, as usual, I will have the link below. Take a look and get blown away like I was. 100,000 still blows me away. The next thing I wanted to talk about is just a little aesthetic design thing. I thought it was kind of neat. There is a Dota 2 Championship branded HTC Vive available for the tournament. They were kind of created for the tournament. And when I say Dota 2 branding, I'm really talking about the headband portion, not the Vive HMD main bulk component itself. It's still black and it still looks the same, except instead of being all black, you've got red and white on the headbanding portion. And I thought it looked pretty cool. I will have the link below. Take a look. Let me know what you think. And it just kind of begs the question for those of us who have Vives, what kind of cool customizations could they do, like just design-wise, right? There's all kinds of potential. Somebody somewhere is going to see this as an opportunity and market maybe their own headbands at some point if the Vive stays viable. I can guarantee you. After seeing those Dota 2 ones, they look pretty cool. I can see somebody going in that direction and offering all kinds of other stuff, right? The last thing I wanted to talk about has to do with North Korea, and I kind of made a joke. I don't know if it was yesterday's video or the one before that, but I joked that there'd be no confusion between South and North Korea with regards to VR. And Murphy, being the guy he is, as usual with me, decides he's going to be a smart ass and have an article dealing with virtual reality and North Korea, of course, today. There is a Singaporean photographer, and his name is Aram Pan. He's a popular photographer in Singapore. He had been contacting North Korean officials online and basically hammering them with requests to do driving 360-degree footage of Pyongyang, the capital. Now, anybody who's done any kind of research on Pyongyang, which is the capital of North Korea, knows that not only is it the capital of the most secretive country on the planet, but it's pretty damn secretive in its own right, right? Take a look at Google Map stuff of Pyongyang, and it's pretty freaking eerie. Like, there's people who live in the city, but it hammers home the impression that it really is only the top elite that actually live in luxury, because most of the main thoroughfares are completely barren, deserted. There's no rush hour in Pyongyang. You could easily drive wherever the hell you wanted to because the disposable income isn't there for the majority of the people, right? And all the footage that we've seen of Pyongyang tends to be the tourist stuff, right? Either the tourist who got in trouble for stealing stuff, right? That guy who stole the sign from a hallway. If you think it was him, because that footage is pretty suspect. It's really grainy, and anyways, whole different story. Won't get into that. The point being, there's not a lot of footage that comes out of Pyongyang. So what he managed to do, Aram, is an hour and 6 minutes of 360-degree footage with a front car mounted 360-degree camera. Not only does he go through all of those main thoroughfares that the tourists tend to get kind of corralled through, he goes to a lot of side streets where you actually see the real North Korea, the people going about their daily lives, and it's freaking cool, mixed with eerie, mixed with awesome, especially if you're a geek like me for different cultures, history, geography, all that kind of stuff. You will find this fascinating. Urge you to go check it out. I will have the link below, but you see parts of Pyongyang that you just won't see anywhere else, and you see them in a really cool, immersive 360-degree way. So have a check at that. As always, guys, I am now going to get back to my work stuff. I'm really going to try to bang out, as promised, the gaming content, though. But as usual, and as always, till the next one, guys, cheers.